Okay, thank you guys for joining. Today we're going to be talking about the listing presentation, which I think is one of Weikert's unique tools and kind of one of the best things that we can use whenever we have an opportunity to go after a listing. And we'll talk about it a little bit more, but we're going to kind of go through the listing presentation as if, and Dewey thankfully has offered to be the seller here, so I put him on the listing presentation. And that's kind of the best thing about this, right? These things are fully customizable. I'm taking one that I did, I actually did it with Will. I took him out of it just for this, but that I did at 510 East 84th Street. I did this actual exact presentation for a seller. And again, a lot of the dialogue will come through the pages that are here, as well as questions that are asked or things that the actual seller brings up during the presentation, right? And so, although I have this prepared, you have to kind of be adaptable. And part of the reason that we kind of go over this, that we have this, is so that you can have a structure to go in and potentially get a listing and be able to pitch things and practice this, but also know kind of common questions that can come up and stuff like that. So, what we're going to do is we're going to go through the listing presentation. And Dewey, again, thank you for agreeing to kind of play along and role play here. This is a 2-bedroom house, and it is one that has been in your family for a long time, right? We'll leave it at that. That's kind of what we're going to be doing. And so you're selling it, you're leaving the city, let's say. So what we're going to do is, again, we're going to go through the listing presentation, and then we're going to kind of step back and kind of look it over and see what's going on with it and kind of where we kind of focus on certain pages. But again, I might do a couple of asides as we go through. And a lot of it will depend on how the other person acts, but I always find the easiest way to kind of introduce this is just by doing it. So again, you can do this in a number of different ways. You can print it out in the big binder, you can print it out a piece of paper, you can do it virtually over an iPad or on a on a computer with them sitting down at the table and stuff like that. I tend to like to sit next to them and kind of go through it side by side and go through the pages. Again, the pages are here to kind of help you frame your conversation with them, but it's not like you have to go over everything. And one of the biggest points that we always want to have is we want the seller to talk, right? We want to ask questions. We want to get their kind of buy into the things that we're talking about. And in anything that we say, we always have to keep in mind, how will this help the seller, right? How will this help the seller? That's the most important thing. And why is this important to the seller? So we're just going to dive in. Again, we're going to go through the listing presentation. I'm the agent. Dewey's going to be the seller here, and think of how I do it and as a template, and we'll kind of go through again more down the road. So Dewey, thank you again so much for inviting me in. I'm really excited to talk to you about the property that you have here at 510 East 84th Street. You showed it to me last time we were here, and it's a really beautiful property. And I'm excited to talk to you about how I can help you sell it quickly. As you mentioned, you want to sell it as quickly as possible for the most amount of money, and in a way that Weikert does it, that's a little bit different than the way everyone else does. So again, when it comes to the sale of your home, I really have one goal, and that is to sell it quickly at the best price possible. We have an amazing system called the Weikert 6-point selling system that we can go over today. That goes through our marketing plan, how we're going to get this listing disseminated both to people who live here on the Upper East Side, but well as people from the greater New York area, as well as the country and even the world that might be interested in your property. How we can also help you get through every phase of the entire process. So again, I know we've spoken before, but I've been in real estate for the past 14 years. I've been working here on the Upper East Side that entire time, right? The second rental that I actually did was just down the block from you on 82nd Street. I'm from Connecticut originally, and I went to school outside of Boston, and I've been in New York again, basically ever since leaving college. And what that means is that I know New York real estate, and I know how to sell your home as well as anything in the neighborhood. What do you know about Weikert?
I actually don't know much about it, except that I have seen signs when I drive out and about in New Jersey.
Exactly. And again, we're really well known as the ones with the yellow signs. And Weikert was founded by Jim Weichert, who's right in the right here in this picture, and it's now run by him and his son James Weichert. And we're actually one of the largest family-owned real estate companies in the United States. As you mentioned, in New Jersey and kind of across our more, our broader footprint, we're known for those yellow signs. Obviously, we don't have a lot of yellow signs here in New York, except for when we have a townhouse for sale. So you might see them in, Brooklyn or Queens or somewhere like that. But what you have is a company led by real estate people, right? People who have this in their blood, in their DNA. Again, we've been in New York City for the past 15 years. And Weichert is really growing in New York, and we're growing across both our corporate office. I'm based out of the office that we have in New York, our Soho office, but we also have affiliate offices. And what this means for you is that, again, your house is not only being marketed here in New York City by us and by my team, but it's also being marketed by these other agents who might live in New Jersey, in Long Island, in Westchester, and things like that, right? We have a really, really big, and I'll get into this a little bit more, but we have a very large regional presence, in New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, in Delaware, in Maryland, in Virginia, as well as in Connecticut. So again, we have a 6-point way of doing things, and I'd like to kind of go into that with you. We're going to create a really irresistible listing. We're going to have some of the best internet marketing. We're going to make sure that we hit both the local market as well as the regional and the global market. We have an open house program that I think is a bit different. And again, when you purchased the home, did you visit it during an open house, or how did you first see it?
Well, this has been in my family for quite some time. So originally, I don't know, it was passed down to me. So
Okay.
I don't know, but what I have seen is I've seen a lot of open houses around us and other buildings and what have you. So I would assume that that has to be a big part of the process.
Definitely. And again, open houses are basically, basically like a store being open for someone to come in and purchase it. And again, you're in a co-op, so there are some rules to it, but we're going to do a way that is really effective in getting the word out that we're having an open house and that your property's on the market, while at the same time being respectful to your neighbors. And actually telling your neighbors about it is one of the first things that we do, because you never know when they know someone who might want to purchase, within the building, because they love it so much, they've lived there for a while. So we also offer what we call complete home ownership solutions. It's our all under one roof proposition, where we can provide any sort of service, ancillary service related to real estate to anyone who walks through the door. And we also have a great pricing tool to help us come up with the best price possible to, again, have the property sold quickly and for the best amount of money for you. So again, I know that this was passed down from your family, but and that you live in Virginia now. When you found your house in Virginia, where did you find it?
Yeah, well, I started the search online.
Perfect. And that's one of the places where basically everyone goes these days. A national statistic is that 95% of people start their home search online. And if you go through online listings and things like that, and again, not for my company, but for others, you might see some let's say questionable photography. And so, because online is the first place where people look when they're starting their home search, we want to make the listing as amazing as possible. And so I work with a professional photographer. Her name is Heidi Solander. She does every single one of my properties. And as you can see here, I have some examples of these. She takes some really, really amazing photos. Aren't these great?
Yeah, those are great. And I've really seen some very bad, dark photos that, even when I was searching in Virginia, I saw things that didn't even look like the house that I went to see. So
totally. And again, what we want to do is we want to virtually showcase your property in the best way possible. And so we do that in a number of ways. We do that through the photography, through floor plans, through the descriptions that we do. What we're going to do is we're going to optimize angles and lighting and things like that. And we're going to make sure that everyone sees this. What's your favorite part of the house, or the apartment, sorry?
The apartment, actually, I just, the windows are really great.
And again, one of the most amazing things about this is how you're overlooking this garden. And I remember when you first came in, you mentioned to me that, you can never hear anything here, right? Even though we're so close to Gracie Mansion, you never even hear the cop cars here. And so right. That's something that we're really going to feature. And we're really lucky that right now, all these magnolia trees are in bloom, so we can take some amazing photos of this. And I'm really excited to have Heidi come in here and take photos. And so again, one of the first things that we're going to do is have her come in, she'll do floor plans and photos. Based on how we're going to market it, we might do a video as well. It's something we can talk about. And we're going to create a lot of interest by doing this, right? Because again, 95% of people start online, and people will discount listings just because of the photos and not ever come to see them. So we want to make sure that we're featuring the best of the property. Again, both bedrooms, your amazing bathrooms that you have, as well as that view. I think that's one of the most amazing things. Now, once we have these photos, we have this amazing description, we have to get them out to as many people as we can, right? My job as your agent is not to only bring one buyer for your property, but is to bring multiple buyers for your property. And the reason for that is that the more people we have that are interested in this, the better price we're going to get for you. And so what we do is we syndicate your listing to every possible website that's out there, right? What websites did you look at in Virginia when you were looking for your home?
Yeah, I primarily use Zillow. I'm looking at all these. That's actually one of the only ones I'm familiar with.
Totally. And again, StreetEasy is one of the larger third-party websites here in New York. It's actually owned by Zillow. It's kind of the New York version of Zillow. And so we make sure that your listing will go to StreetEasy, to Zillow, Realtor.com, which is a broker-only website, but it's actually the second most trafficked real estate website out there. The New York Times, Homes.com. I'm not sure. Do you happen to watch HGTV?
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit. And I don't know if you know this, but Homes.com is actually owned by HGTV. And so they actually syndicate there, and they advertise Homes.com all the time. I'm not sure if you've seen it, but a lot of hits will come from that as well. And so it will also go to Weichert.com. And basically, 51% of people find the home that they buy online. Again, 95% of people start looking online, 51% of the people find it. So again, we want to make sure that we're on every single possible website. Your listing will be syndicated out to a number of different places. Again, these kind of third-party websites, Weichert.com, which is one of the top 10 most trafficked real estate websites in the country, which is an amazing thing that we can say, to make sure that everyone who can possibly see this is out there. And again, this is so that we make sure the most people possible see your property. And when they see it, it's going to have amazing photos, floor plans, and things like that. Doesn't that sound great? And that we can get it out to that many places?
Yeah, that sounds amazing. How do you track all that? I mean, is it just the people that show up, or?
We track it in a number of ways. We can actually report back to you off of a number of these websites how many people searched for a property that's similar to yours, how many people clicked on yours, and how many people requested more information. So we can keep you updated every week or every month on what those metrics look like across not every one of these websites, but many of them.
And I'm guessing that probably helps you then refine what we need to do to get it sold.
Exactly. So we take the metrics. We also take feedback, which again, I'll get into in a little bit about how we do that. Our internet strategy also drives traffic to Weichert.com. Again, because, and we'll talk about this a little bit further down the road, because Weichert is such a large company across the United States, we have millions of visitors every year to Weichert.com. And our website is something called Sticky, where we have a lot of things on there that will keep people on the website and have them request to actually see the property and things like that. And so many times when they're looking, we'll be at the top of the search and things like that. So if they're looking for, let's say, New York homes for sale, we'll be within the first page or two of that search, which can also help drive people to the website. In addition to that, we have things built into the website, and we're really happy because we have a reinvented website where people can see mortgage calculators. They can kind of see the pricing and things like that. And it will help people to save the listing, share it with friends, and we can actually track when they're doing that. Again, some of those metrics that we can share back with you as a seller, so we know how many people are actually visiting your home on the website. We also have something called the Weichert Welcome Center. And again, this is something that's very common in New York. And I don't know if it happened to you when you were in Virginia looking for your home, but 48% of inquiries, especially online inquiries, go unanswered by other real estate brokers. I don't know if you ever had that experience. Did you ever have it where you're trying to find out about something and no one got back to you?
It was terrible. It was terrible trying to find someone to just get on the phone with me.
Especially given the market that we've had where things were going so quickly, a lot of brokers weren't really doing their job, right? And what we have is we have something kind of foolproof that, right? Again, as an agent, I'm always going to respond to every single inquiry that comes into me, be it a phone call, a text, an email, something on social media, whatever it is, and make sure that we get back to people. Now, the other thing that we have is if for some reason I don't get the call and they call in through the Weichert.com website, we actually have a call center from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. every day that will answer that call and patch it through to me or to set up an appointment for me to show them the property. And if I can't answer the phone within a minute, they will actually have someone else from my office answer the phone and set up that appointment with me. And so what we do is we answer on average 100% of inquiries within 3 minutes of them calling into the call center, or we get back to them within 15 minutes of an email. Isn't that amazing that we can get back to people that quickly?
Yeah, I mean, I would have loved for someone to get back to me that quickly.
Yeah, and again, what that means is that we are not letting potential buyers slip through the cracks, and we are getting more people through the door of your home. So again, what we have is a local and a global reach here at Weichert. And for me, what I like to think of Weichert in New York is the biggest boutique company that's out there. We are a boutique company here in New York City. We have 90 sales agents out of my office here in Soho. And because of that, we're able to get the word out about your property within our office pretty quickly. Generally, people often like to stay within the neighborhood that they're living in. And so one of the things that I do with all my new listings is that I will send out a just listed postcard to other people who are living in the neighborhood. And I found that many people are looking to move from some of these high-end rental buildings. Again, just down the block from you here on First Avenue, there's 3 of them. You remember where that Equinox is? There's actually very, very high-end rentals in that building. And I think many people there are probably thinking about buying and taking advantage of where the market is right now. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to send to those rental buildings, right? I'm going to send postcards, just listed ones, to people in your neighborhood that might be thinking about moving. We're also going to let your neighbors in the building know about the listing, right? And again, I can't tell you how many times I've actually helped someone sell their home to a neighbor who was looking to upsize, downsize, or who had a friend who was looking and didn't know of anything coming on the market. Wouldn't that be great for you?
That would be amazing.
In addition to that, we don't only focus on the local market, but we also get the word out to other Weichert offices. Again, we have offices in Westchester, in Hudson County. Oftentimes people move back and forth through there, but we also can tap into our transferees from moving to the area. We are members of the leading real estate companies of the world, which is an organization of privately owned real estate companies that help share their listings, right? And so through that, we share our listings with 175 countries, from Singapore to London to Hong Kong to Brazil, as well as to any international transferees who are being moved to New York City through our sister company, which is called Weichert Workforce Mobility. I don't know if you know this, but Weichert actually owns the 3rd largest relocation company in the world. And we relocate about 25,000 people every year for some Fortune 500 companies. And again, this is just a sampling of some of the roster that's out there. And again, the most important thing to you as a seller, what does this mean? If any of these transferees are moving to New York City, they are going to get your listing through Weichert Workforce Mobility and through our marketing to them, right? And so these are, again, people who range from CEOs, CFOs to kind of C-suite people at these companies. And it's really great because you are able to, again, tap into people who are moving here and preferentially give them the listing. Isn't that great?
Yeah, that's terrific.
Now, again, we talked about this a little bit before, but open houses are really an integral part of the home selling experience. And Weichert does open houses differently than everyone else. Our open house strategy is one that I like to call an active open house strategy, right? I don't just go into all those websites that I mentioned before and just put up the listing and say, you know what, people come into the house and I'm going to wait for them here, right? I'm just going to sit here and wait for people to come. That's not what I do, right? And that to me is not the job of a real estate agent. My job is to actively market your property. And by putting up an open house, I'm letting people know that they can come to the property, but I don't just want to do that, right? I want to make sure that I'm actively recruiting people to come to those open houses. And so what I'll do is I will use our marketing platform. It's called KV Core. And what I can do is, and I'd actually like to show you this. And again, as an aside, I show them what this looks like. I can go and I can pull the email addresses for Again, we're in 10215. Great, here we are. 6,000 people who live in this neighborhood. And I can now send an email with the open house to those 6,000 people. What do you think about that?
I think that sounds great. I've had some other realtors come in who are just say they just put up the open houses and that's it. So, I mean, that sounds like you're being very active, proactive.
Totally, totally. And what the other things that I do, most of the time people have an open house, for an hour on Sunday or something like that. What I do is I have stacked open houses because every time we put up an open house, it's going to ping anyone who saved the search. So I will do the first weekend, I'll do an open house if it works for you. And again, we'll work through your schedule and what your building allows. But we can do an open house on Friday night. We'll do on Saturday during the day and Sunday during the day. Because again, we want to get as many people in there as possible. Going forward, what I usually do is I do a lunchtime or an evening open house and a weekend open house every weekend until the home is sold. And again, I will be the one sitting the open houses along with some colleagues of mine who you will 100% meet in advance before anyone were to sit the open house and make sure that you're comfortable with them. Again, I'm really lucky because we have an amazing group of people here and they're all as dedicated and hardworking as I am. And what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that that your house is open for as long as possible and to get as many people in there as possible. So again, my open houses typically are 2 to 3 hours, again, depending on your schedule. And if you're going to be away for a week or a weekend, we'll do more open houses at that time to then distribute the leads. So again, what we want to do is we want to make sure that people come to the open house and that, again, we're not just putting it up online, but we're actively marketing it to people. We can also reach out to other past customers that we have from other open houses and let them know about it. And again, through the My Weichert system, we're able to really actively market the property as well as market any open house that we have, again, to get the most people through the door, to get you the most potential buyers, to get you the highest price possible. How does that sound?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Another thing that I use and that many of the agents in my office use is social media. Again, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn are all ways that we can get the word out about your property. I actually have 2,000 followers here on social media. And again, anytime I have a listing, I put it up. I let people know about open houses and things like that. We're also lucky that a couple of our agents are really big on TikTok, one especially. And so he can actually get your listing out there to his 15,000 TikTok followers. And we can kind of get it marketed in a variety of different ways, right? Again, some people only use websites. Some people only come to open houses. Some people only look on social media. Again, the consumer is out there and the buyer for your home is out there. We just have to help you uncover them. And that's what I'm going to do by getting it onto as many different places as possible and exposing it to as many people as possible. Doesn't that sound great?
Yeah, that's terrific.
I know one of the most important things for you is what we're going to do for an asking price. And after we're done with this, we're going to go through the actual pricing and what we call our price trend analysis. But we do things a little bit differently than other firms, right? Most other firms will come in and say, this is what's on the market. This is what we should price it at. And what you're missing there is what's happening with the market, right? What's on the market is a snapshot of what's happening. But what we want to do is we want to look at what happened 6 months ago, what happened 3 months ago, what's happening now, and what we project the market to be happening down the road, so that when we price this, we price it for the people who are going to be looking at it once it comes on the market, right? We can't just look at what sold over the last month because everything is changing. Excuse me, I apologize. And so we're going to look at things like absorption rates and how quickly things are selling to price it effectively for this market and to almost price it for the future rather than pricing it for right now. Because again, everything is changing in this market, again, with the volatility in interest rates and whatnot. And I know how important it is for you to sell this fairly quickly because of that high maintenance that you're paying every month. So we're going to make sure that we're pricing this effectively to get it sold. And to make sure that you're realizing the gains from this property as quickly as you can. Again, a couple other things. Weichert is actively involved in the community here in New York City. We volunteer with New York Cares. I actually volunteer with a number of different organizations. I'm a member of the Young Contemporaries at the Whitney. I'm an active member of the Leslie Lohman the Museum as well. And so these are all things that we do. Again, we're based here in New York. We are New Yorkers, and we really want to help out wherever we can. Nationally, Weichert is involved with the with a number of different cancer research centers and things like that. And they actually donated money to build a new cancer research wing at NYU Hospital, which was really great. So we are invested in the New York and tri-state area, and again, we're here to help everyone. So I know that you inherited this property, and so it's a little bit different for you. But again, to sell a co-op is a fairly complex process. We are here for you every step of the way. I have done this across New York City and here on the Upper East Side hundreds of times, and I'm here to help you get through the entire process, again, of pricing this property, getting the listing agreement signed, getting it up everywhere, again, making sure we're doing everything that we need to get this sold for the highest price possible. And again, as your agent, I'm here to help you through the entire process. Whenever I work with someone, I always come up with a schedule for us to talk. And again, for some people, we're going to do a once a week check-in. For some people, it's every day. Whatever you want from me, I'm here for you. I'm here to connect you to all services, including a real estate attorney, including any types of financial planners that you might need because you're selling here in New York City, to connect you to those services, to always provide feedback. And again, one of the things we're going to do is we're going to go over all of the reactions that I get from every person who walks through the door, right? Even if someone doesn't like this property, I want to know why and what we can do to help for it to appeal to as many people as possible, right? And so if someone says, oh, we hate the pink carpet or whatever, maybe we talk about replacing the carpet, or again, we kind of actively work on these things. So I'm here to be responsive to you, to work through every single point of this process with you, and to make it as smooth and as stress-free as possible. And again, here are kind of the next steps in this, and I'd really love to get started quickly. We're gonna talk after we're done with this about where I would price it. But the next step is really to get the photographer in here, and I'd love to bring her in. She's actually available on Saturday if that might work for you. Are you available on Saturday?
Well, I'm in Virginia, so I mean it's empty. So it's just
perfect.
coordinating with the board and making sure everything's okay to get in.
Oh, perfect. Well, that's great. Again, it's definitely something we can do, and we can kind of get everything listed and up and going, fairly quickly. And again, we can go over all these, but how it is blasted out to our New York agents, to our regional agents, to the other agents in New York City at Brand X Firms. Again, we're members of the Real Estate Board of New York. And so we share our listings with the other REBNY firms. They share their listings with us. I'm actually also a member of the Long Island Board of Realtors, which will then get it out to agents who are working in Long Island, in Queens, in the Bronx, in Westchester, and things like that. So you have access to this listing through all these different boards. So Dewey, again, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for having me in. I'm really looking forward to working with you, and I'd love to answer any questions that you might have about the entire process and what it's like to work with me and with Weichert on the sale of your home.
No, I think that all sounds great. How much is it going to cost me? I mean, am I paying for the photographer? Am I paying for these listings? How does all that work?
Sure. All the services are covered. We will pay out of pocket for every single thing. And again, all we ask for is a commission due at the closing of the sale, which is 6%, and we'll kind of go over what that looks like and what your net proceeds will be based on our sale price.
Okay.
Awesome.
Great.
Thank you, Dewey. Okay, that's it for this. Thank you. I appreciate the acting prowess. So again, that was it. What are people's initial thoughts, questions, concerns? And we'll kind of go through it a little bit more in these slides.
Well, I think that the presentation is very well put together, and I think it's very well done. And there's a lot of really good selling points there that are unique to Weichert. Being able to bring in at least introduce some of the ideas of the relocation, just the size of Weichert, the idea of being able to go out to the immediate surrounding burbs, and kind of grab people as they're moving in. I think that's all really great value adds, particularly comparing to where I came from, where these resources were not available. So it's that, it's definitely a competitive edge.
Definitely. And I think that's what the whole thing is about, right? Any agent can take a listing, price it, put it on the MLS, and wait for a buyer, right? And that's what I would say, and again, this is in my opinion, based on other agents I've worked with, talked to, whatever it is. That's what 95% of agents will do, right? They will be really great, get a listing because they've either sold a lot in the neighborhood, or they're going to way overprice it and give the person the price they want, or they're going to cut their commission to 2% or something ridiculous, and they'll get the listing, right? And they'll just slap it online and that's it. And so what we do is we tell people how we're different, right? That's the only thing you can do to differentiate yourself. What that also does is it helps us to earn the 6% that we go after, right? We take listings at 6% because of the value. And one thing that, for anyone who was at the Reimagine things that Bill was talking about, right? He was saying, and in our market, it's even more pressing, right? This was a $1.1 million listing, right? That we ended up getting. So let's say we get a 6% listing on that, right? So $66,000 in commission. Is your listing presentation, or is what you're doing in your pitch, worth $66,000? You got to think about that, right? Or even if we're just saying a co-broke, right? 30,000, 33,000, whatever it is. Are you doing a $33,000 listing presentation? And again, multiply that by numbers if we're talking about other things. But generally, even at 3% on a $500,000 listing, it's $15,000, right? Think of that. Are you doing a listing presentation? Are you giving a customized listing presentation with all this information every time you're going on a listing? And if you are, again, I can tell you, and we'll talk about this down the road, but if you're doing it, you will get listings. You're going to win more listings, right? And on our conversion rate, since using this and fully using this, has gone through the roof. If you get the opportunities, right? And again, I'm gonna kind of switch gears for 2 seconds, and I'm gonna tell you, this workshop is pointless to you. This is a pointless workshop if you are not creating opportunities for yourself to go on listing appointments, right? There's no reason to be here if you're not creating opportunities for yourself. You can learn anything that you possibly want to, you can perfect the listing presentation, but unless you are creating customers, potential customers for yourself, if you're not creating opportunities for yourself to go on listing appointments, this is pointless. And again, we'll continue to talk about this down the road. We have so many ways of prospecting, right? There are so many people out there that are thinking about selling their properties. We have to actively go after them. The same way that during that listing presentation, I pitched to the seller, to Dewey, that I was going to actively go after buyers for his property. In the same way, you need to go find sellers, right? And so again, anyone who's on this and anyone who's listening to this, this is going to be pointless unless you create listing opportunities for yourself and then perfect this presentation so you can get the listings, or work with someone who's experienced to get the listings. So again, the listing presentation is 100% customizable. I can help you put it together. I'll tell you, from the people who go on listing appointments, Ellen takes out a third of the pages. Will adds in pages, right? These are all customizable. We can make this for you and for anyone that you're running the listing presentation for. Just give me a little bit of notice. We can change the first page. We can change the other pages. So again, I want to go through a couple points that I think are, as Dewey was saying, really what differentiate us or you from other people that might be going on the listing appointment with, right? Okay, so number one is you as the New York specialist, right? That's why I have it so, at the beginning of the presentation. Jim Weichert says people buy people before they buy products and services. Because of that, you need to brand yourself as a New York specialist, and you need to sell yourself to these people. How did I do it, or how do I do it? I do it because I've been in New York for a long time. And again, you might not have all these things. You may have different things, and other people can brand themselves better or worse than me, right? Maybe you've been in New York longer than me. Great, brand yourself like that. Maybe you grew up in New York. Maybe you were born in New York. Maybe whatever it is, right? So for me, it's that I've lived in New York for the past 14 years. I've sold or helped people move. Again, if you're new to sales, I've helped people move, right? If you've done 500 rentals, I've helped over 500 people move in the city, right? That is you using what you have to your advantage. Maybe it's in your neighborhood, right? Maybe you're an Upper East Side rental specialist and you're going after your first listing on the Upper East Side. Great, say that, right? Maybe you're born on the Upper East Side, even though you live in Chelsea now. Who cares? Or uptown, downtown, right? If you've worked mostly in Inwood and you're running something in Harlem, I've helped 20 people move uptown, right? Or I've sold 10 condos uptown, 5 co-ops, whatever it is, right? You use whatever numbers work best to your advantage. Or I've lived here. I've lived in Harlem for 20 years, or I've lived in Greenwich Village for 10 years. And I will be at all the showings, right? I'm going to be the neighborhood specialist, right? So brand yourself as that and figure out. And that's why it's, I think, important to figure out where you want to work based on what you know, or where you can kind of really brand yourself. Excuse me for a second. So Weichert is boutique in New York, right? And I always use the term, we are the biggest boutique firm in New York City, right? We have under 100 agents that are, primary out of our office. Technically, I think we're at about almost 120 agents with all the Jersey agents that have their secondary license with us. But I use the under 90, right? We're 90 agents in New York. And what does that mean for them, right? Again, everything we're saying, how does that work for the seller? This means that you have my full attention, right? I'm not someone who has 100 listings. If I had 100 listings, I couldn't put in the time, effort, and energy to your listing like I'm saying I'm going to do, right? So you have my attention, and you have that of my office and my manager, right? Right now in New York, we have 25 sales listings right now, right? Which again is a good number for 90 agents, right? Because many of our agents are part-time, many of our agents are working just in rentals and things like that. So again, we don't have thousands of listings, right? We're not getting a listing from you and showing that person, 5 other listings that I have, right? This is the one listing I'm going to be focusing all my attention on the Upper East Side. We are dedicated to you and your listing, period, right? And again, I think that's a great thing. At some point, you will be growing, so you'll have a ton of listings, which is a great thing too, and we can kind of tweak this. But for most of us, this is where we are, right? We only carry a couple listings. That means we can devote time, energy, and effort to it. We are a regional and national powerhouse. Again, do we hit on this, right? Because we have 110 corporate offices from upstate New York to Virginia, and this means that your listings are going to be seen by people across the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic, right? Many times people are moving from within the region. We also have 6,500 plus corporate agents who bring their results for listings in every market we serve, right? We are the biggest firm in Hudson County. We are one of the biggest firms in the state of New Jersey, right? And we are one of the largest privately owned real estate firms in the country, right? So again, we start with you in New York City, and then we grow to the region, like the Northeast, Mid-Atlantic, and then we talk about the nation, right? Through our affiliates, we have offices in 45 states in every major market across the United States. With 600 plus affiliate offices, we connect your listings to buyers around the country, right? And that's through Weichert.com. It's disseminated on Weichert.com, and every MLS that we're on feeds to Weichert.com. So that means someone in Des Moines, Iowa, who is looking to buy something in New York will see your listing. We also syndicate through the leading real estate companies of the world into dozens of countries. Therefore, buyers who are looking overseas will see your listings and be connected to us. Great thing. We also have the 3rd largest relocation company on the planet. We locate tens of thousands of people every year. This means we have access to buyers across the globe, as well as people who are moving to your local market, period, right? Again, Weichert.com will maximize engagement with the listing, right? Because of all the things that are built into it. It's not some, again, if you look at our website compared to many of the major national players' website, ours is better. It's been redesigned more recently. And especially if you compare our website, and again, we have Weichert.com, we have your personal website, which you can tell them about. We also have WeichertProperties.com for New York City. And all those websites are generally, again, they might have a little bit of clunkiness in some respects, but generally they're better than our competition's website. So period. It's going to maximize engagement with their listing. Again, the number of people that come to the website and how many people visit Weichert.com every year, right? 39 million buyers visit it every year. The websites that it's syndicated out to, again, it's not just, StreetEasy, Zillow, Realtor, whatever it is, but it's all these small websites as well. Our local focus, right? The fact that we're sending, and again, only say this if you're doing it, right? You might say, oh, I send emails to these people, but you can talk about how you locally market it, right? I'm going to send postcards to everyone in your building in the 3 largest rental buildings nearby. I'm going to email blast your zip code and the 3 zip codes around you through My Weichert, right? That's something that no one else does. Again, the power of My Weichert KV Core, the property boost, the cold to core mailings. Those are the mass emails, the real-time updates of everyone who looked at your property, right? Again, you can use those metrics to help you. Again, the pricing tool, the PTA prices it better. We have Urban Digs for up-to-the-minute comps for Manhattan and Brooklyn. We have our market trends analysis from a market report from Manhattan, right? We've got all these things. So again, these are just some of the things that kind of differentiate us, but it's all things that can really help you sell yourself and sell the ideas. So what are the next steps, right? Practice, right? And again, the listing presentation, the plain version of it is available in the Google Drive, right? In the shared Google Drive. So you can download it from there, you can play around with it. If you have a listing that you want to go on, or you're going to go on, you can send me the details, right? A picture of the front of the building, the owner's name, and the address, and I can create the listing presentation for you, right? Like the one that I just showed you, right? Pop in a couple things here and there, and that's it. And you can customize it. You can take pages out, you can add pages if you want to, whatever it is, it's all customizable. So find an accountability partner to work with on this, right? If you have a partner you're working with, great, do it with them. Or if you get a listing opportunity, work with an experienced agent, right? This is what I say, number one thing that a newer agent should do. And again, this is not an exhaustive list. This is just some of the people who are very familiar with the listing presentation, right? So Peter Forsey, again, every listing he's gone on except for one, and that one they actually didn't sell it, he got, right? Great person to take with you on a listing presentation, and work on the listing with him so you can learn from him. He sold in almost every neighborhood in New York and in Queens and in Brooklyn. Michael Ryder, Leslie Lazarus. Leslie works across Manhattan as well as in Westchester. So if you have an opportunity there. Ellen Simon, very experienced across Manhattan and Brooklyn. Eunice Terso, also Manhattan and Brooklyn. Again, I can also come on a listing presentation with you. If you have a mentor, they can come with you. Whatever it is, use the people, right? And again, I always say this, if you're new to the business, it is much better to make 50% of something than 100% of nothing, right? I took Suzanne on my first listing appointment. We got the listing, we sold it, we split the commission. I took Eunice on my second listing appointment. We worked together, we split the commission, right? Think of it, you will learn from other people and you will become better at your craft so that then down the line you can work by yourself if you want to. Or again, I did that one on the Upper East Side and Will helped me with it. Why? Because I like working with people and I would rather work on a listing with someone than by myself, period, right? So again, take this as a way that you can learn from other people. Or again, if you really want to perfect it yourself, go ahead and do it. And that's totally fine too. But I can tell you, one of the first questions that you will get on every single listing presentation that you go on is, how many listings have you sold? Or how many listings have you sold in this neighborhood or in this building? Period. And if you can't answer that effectively, you probably won't get the listing. And that's it. I think that's it from me. I'm going to stop the share and I would love to answer any questions people have. Again, I will send out the slides from today as well as the listing presentation that I went over so you guys can kind of get a sense of it and kind of play through it. Again, the blank one is available in the Google Drive, but happy to answer any questions that you guys might have. None? Okay, thank you guys.